I think a lot of finance leaders and finance teams struggle with this as they try to go deeper in the organization, have those types of conversations, or enlighten people down below why this is important. Here's what we're trying to achieve. Um, there must have been some time where you're talking to your team that gets involved in those discussions. Maybe you're personally involved in them, but I'd like to understand better how you sort of task them, how, with your advice, your marching orders, your and again, I think I'm looking at leadership style here. I'm trying to understand better. Finance people struggle with this. It's hard to sit across from a sales team and tell them we got to do this differently.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would say I used to be about 12 years ago, that nosy, that perfect, kind of person who would find fault with everything. And I was again fortunate to have done a 360 feedback and get the worst feedback of my life, and when I really probed, as to why, some of my friends who actually gave me that feedback came and said, "You're such a lovely guy, but you're a pain to work with. I mean, you're literally a pain to work with, because when we come to you, you will have to show as to how you're better than all of us." And I'm again very glad that I got that, that feedback very early on in my career. It was extreme, and let me be honest, it was extremely difficult to let go. It was very, very difficult to let go. But I really, made a conscious effort for the first 2 years. Now it's been 7 years since I've done a worksheet by myself. Yeah. And I have now let go, and therefore I spend my time more thinking than doing, because that's what I'm paid to do. Yeah. And quite often finance leaders think that, hey, I've got promoted, I need to do more of what I did because I got promoted. You can't be further away from the truth. You have been promoted because you displayed those hygiene basic skills. Now what you are asked of is very, very different things. So when I walked into Tata Communications, the first thing I called my team and said, "I know nothing about telecommunications. You guys know, better than me. So feel free to educate me. Don't think that I'm going to create that barrier, that I'm not going to allow you to speak the mind. The culture that I want in the organization is, I want bad news to travel at the same speed as good news. I'm not going to shoot the messenger. I would like to, look at the problem." And the other thing that I've always had this myself: solve a problem. It's easy. If you accuse a person, then people get defensive. If you accuse a problem, the same person who's probably caused the problem is also in a constructive mode to solve it. So let's focus our attention on the problem, not on the person. We get it wrong by putting it on the person. Yeah. And then, becomes defensive, then it gets into a very, very non-constructive, path. So those are all, I would say, leadership style. I mean, empower and enable, yeah, the people, and remove the constraints. Yeah, remove the constraints. And I would say, take a bet on them. Hire people smarter than you. I mean, literally hire people smarter than you, and give them the space, to go and succeed, and create modes for them so that they don't fail, and provide that air cover. That's what they want. They don't want anything else, right? And they're going to flourish. It's the same, team that we inherited, which had, a different, and now they've got a very different brief. So now I can see the risk taking in my team a lot higher than what it is. Earlier, they would hesitate, to make a statement depending on how it would be perceived. As long as we don't have an integrity issue, I would say seek forgiveness than seeking permission.
Very good.